Hello there, and welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. Here we are back for a fun episode here this week. We're going to look at abandoned Star Wars storylines, sort of the spiritual sequels to last year's abandoned Star Wars projects. Today, we're sort of discussing storylines of Star Wars that started at some point, did not finish, which ones we want to see to continue, which are fine being left in the dustbin of history. One of your hosts, Mike Phillips, with me as always. Great Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Excited to talk about this. Haven't looked at it. I want to be surprised. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys about it.
Yep. Also here with us today, the Chief Creative Officer of this podcast, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing well. I have looked at it. But then you since have hidden it with highlights. So now I can't see them, but I remember about half of them.
Yeah. So we have fun conversations today. We're a few minutes. We'll get to it. We have a list of 10 storylines that were brought by Star Wars, have not been either solved or planned to be solved. We'll discuss that. But Pete, if you want to subscribe to the Sky Guys and do so, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys here at podcast platforms. You can find episodes there. And you're coming to us off of Star Wars Day. Let's see, it's a great episode. Make sure you subscribe because we have some more fun off-season stuff planned throughout the month of February.
100%. All that off-season stuff is going to be there on the feed, so make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the new YouTube channel, Sky Guys Podcast YouTube channel. Everything's going to be kind of simulcasted, if you will, between the Mike M. Phillips channel and the Sky Guys. And then once Andor Season 2 starts, we're going to be exclusively on that Sky Guys Podcast YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yep. And Nick, people want to follow on social media. How can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast, pretty much everywhere. You want to email us? It's at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep. And let's go ahead and go to our social media comment of the week. This is from our episode. We talk about the revisit the project rankings. This one is from Obi.Sean underscore Kenobi, Kwai Sean Jin, commented about the KOTOR rig ever happening. He says, quote, I believe Nick said this in the episode. We'll get GTA 6 before we get this.
Well, I would say definitely considering GTA 6 coming out this year.
We might get GTA 9 before this.
I mean, I don't think we'll be alive for GTA 8, to be honest with you. I think 7 will be maybe the last one we see. That should be like 15 years from now. So,
Yeah, and also mention Captain Thick also says being a PS5 exclusive isn't helping it, which I think is also fair. I think if this was like a independent developer that was like sort of like just selling it to the highest bidder, I think you have everything the game getting built. I think
oh, I
PS5
agree.
sort of ruined this situation, Pete.
Um, I mean, I don't know if it ruins it. I think that console exclusivity has been around for a long time, and it didn't really ruin much in the way of PlayStation, right? Spider-Man, stuff like that. So, at the end of the day, there's going to be Star Wars fans that want to play it, and if they have a PS5, they go for it. But I do agree with you in the sense that you get a lot more outreach if you can get it on multiple platforms. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of hit or miss with that.
Yeah, my point is more of like this is sort of like that the original games were Xbox exclusives here. I think this is Microsoft doing this. They had more passion into the project than Sony does, because that was just a cash grab.
It's definitely a possibility. I've been hearing more and more about PlayStation and Xbox kind of talking with each other and making things non-Xbox exclusives anymore. So one of the things that was rumored was Halo. So it's a possibility that they could still both work on it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get some Star Wars news. Nick, we got a couple of things here. Not as much as we had last week.
Yeah, not that many things. George Nolfi, who was recently hired to write the Ray movie, said in an interview that he is drawing from George Lucas's use of politics to tell the story from the original six films while he writes his own film. So maybe some borrowing a little bit from the original six. That could be good.
That's not a bad idea place to be drawing inspiration from.
Yeah, not at all. The next piece of news is the close down Galactic Star Cruiser, which was that hotel nonsense at Star Wars at Disney World, is being converted into office space for Disney Imagineering.
Yep.
Um, I thought we knew this already, but I keep seeing this pop up.
I think this is the hotels didn't close. The first time we actually had a use of the building since they closed it because it's basically sitting empty for that whole time.
Okay.
And
And
I will
last,
also tease here. It's not the last you hear much about the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel in the near future.
That's right.
Yeah.
The last piece of news is it was reported, I think today, time of recording, that Disney Plus apparently lost three-quarters of a million or 750K subscribers in the fourth quarter of 2024.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
with a total number of what was it, Mike? I think you said 124 million.
About 125 million.
About 125 million. That's not a massive, it sounds massive when you first see it. It's not as massive when you put it into perspective, but still not a small number.
Not ideal, Pete, to be hemorrhaging that many subscribers in a short period.
No, and I think a lot of people are kind of getting burnt out by subscription services. You kind of see it all over the place that a lot of people are just they're just paying a lot of money in subscribe. I do too. So it could be that Disney is just, not their go-to and they're trying to cancel subscription before the holidays or anything like that. It could also be that Disney's not putting out great content. So like, why am I paying for this? So it could be a slew of different things. I won't speculate on why those 750,000 people cancel their subscriptions, but a 1% loss in their eyes may not be concerning, considering that they've been having a lot more loss when it comes to their projects that they put money into at the millions of dollars. So, we'll see how this turns out, if this is a trend or not.
Yeah, although Nick, you brought this up off the air, I think it's a fair point as well. 2024, not a great year for Disney Plus original content.
No, I mean, forget the quality of the shows. Forget if you liked them or not. Acolyte, a little bit of Skeleton Crew in there. What did you have for Marvel? You had Agatha. Did you have anything at the beginning of the year?
You had the Echo binge drop.
Echo, that's right. That was way beginning of the year. That was like beginning of January. But anyway, regardless if you liked it or not, there's just not a lot there.
Yeah.
So, we had talked, and many people have talked about oversaturation. So what did these guys do? Disney, that is, they pulled a lot of their content, said we're going to slow down a little bit. We're only going to give you two shows a year, or one show a year, or one movie, whatever it is, and you lost people. So is that because they have less product, or because the product wasn't good? I'm not going to side one way or the other. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. Maybe if you had more shows, people would have more of a reason to be subscribed.
Yeah, 2025 will be definitely a test for that because Marvel is loaded with content for 2025.
What do they have? I know they have the two movies at least. Is that it?
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon that just started dropping on Disney Plus, the Spider-Man high school one. They have
Captain America and Fantastic Four. I don't know about on the movie though.
yeah, they got Daredevil Born Again's coming in
Hmm.
March. They have the Iron Heart series with the character they introduced in Black Panther. They have I think Marvel Zombies is finally coming. There's an animated Wakanda show. There's like Wonder Man at the end of the year. They have like 6 or 7 different shows coming.
Okay, that's big. That's really big. So yeah, we'll see if the oversaturation is a good thing or a bad thing. And there's a lot coming there in Marvel, and they also have a couple movies coming out next year too, or I guess this year.
They have 3 because including one's right around the corner from when we're recording.
What's the last one? I'm not remembering.
You have Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, Thunderbolts and Captain
Hmm.
America is within the shouting distance when you're hearing this.
I didn't. When's Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts is in May,
The Fantastic Four is July. The
July.
last one.
That's the last one. Remember?
Oh, I thought there was one I thought that Thunderbolts was coming in like October. So that's interesting. That's news to me.
It was originally, I think, going to be pushed back later, but I think like when they dropped Blade off the schedule, they sort of moved everything else up.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Anything else in the news part, or is that it?
That is it.
All right, so let's get to what we're here for today, which is this abandoned Star Wars storyline here. So let's start out your P. I think my proposal for the criteria for the abandoned storyline here is that this is a prominent plot point or storyline in a show or movie has not been addressed for at least 3 years without any firm plans to address in the future. So, in other words, like your acolyte hanging threads, we're not doing that yet because that's too early. It just literally just got canceled. They could announce in celebration, oh, we're doing the Chimera show in like a year and a half. So we're not putting them in there. But I think if it's been more than 3 years and we haven't heard anything, I think it's fair to say this point's been abandoned right now for now.
I like that. Very smart of you to do 3 years. I know exactly why you said 3 years.
Yeah. Pete, what do
I
you
know
think?
one specifically that happened literally exactly 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Yeah.
100%.
But for the 3 years, and I also like Andor doesn't count either because Andor we have a second season, so any points they have not addressed yet might get addressed in season two for all we know. All right, so I have a list. I went through the history books. I got 10 different storylines that we could discuss here. So I think what we should do is we're going to go through the list, discuss the merits of it, and do a ranking of like what we most want to see picked up and what we are fine just being left and banned at number 10. So I'll bounce around with a random order here. So I'll give us a juicy one to start out here, and this is one that Nick brought up on last week's podcast on the Star Wars Day pod. I don't know if it was a post credit scene or the last on the last season Solo, Maul being the leader of Crimson Dawn. We get teased this as this is where the story continues. Obviously, Solo flops. We don't get this again. So, Nick, I know you're the big advocate for this. The Maul Crimson Dawn storyline.
Uh, so I want it. I think that Solo 2 would have been a good idea.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if it would have done well in the box office. It probably wouldn't have, so I don't really necessarily blame them for not moving forward with the project, but I want to see it. I
Yep.
would love to see what they had you know, cooking there. I would like to know. There were a lot of points, not only with Darth Maul, there were a lot of points in that movie that could have carried over. You had Han and Chewie with the Falcon now. That would have been cool to see some adventures actually with the Falcon as opposed to like, as opposed to like it wasn't theirs the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Enfys Nest was getting involved at the end there. I think it would have been made for a really good story. And it's upsetting that we did not get to see the future of that. And we only know what happens to Maul after this from Rebels,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of time in the middle there.
Yeah, Pete, this is a good sort of bucket of also sort of like the Solo 2 conundrum here because we had a lot of storylines teased that were not picked up in this one. I think Maul's sort of the headliner for this, though, in terms of like we got this great tease of Kira working with Maul. We get all the Maul content in Clone Wars. We see the end of Maul's life in Rebels. There's a big gap in the middle that we could have Maul doing fun stuff in where he's lying low from the Emperor and trying to rule the underworld.
I agree. I would love to see this as well. I think that one problem with it, not problem with it, is that you have to have an extensive explanation, right? For those who didn't see Solo, those who don't see Rebels. I think they need to do a good job if they do decide to do this, or if we want it back. Is that explanation maybe just something to set the scene, as Star Wars does pretty regularly anyway? So that's the only thing I could see it being uh, a difficulty, but I'd love to see it come back.
Yeah, and Nick, I do think this would also this I think was probably better suited as like a Disney Plus like limited series project in the mold of like the Kenobi 6 episodes. Oh, here's something of Maul doing his time. I feel like you can't run this forever, especially if you want to try and get like Amelia Clark back in here. That's not going to be very easy considering she's very in demand. Like I think you need to sort of like have a limited time frame you can tell the story in.
Yeah, I agreed. I don't know how it would do in the box office necessarily, so it's pretty difficult in that sense. And yeah, I really wish we got a Solo too. I'm upset we didn't.
Yeah, and right now we're putting it number one because that's our first item on the list.
Sure.
And this is from Solo. So this is we have a mix of stuff from prequels to sequels to Mandoverse show. We have stuff going on here. So
So when we actually go through these rankings, I like how we're doing it so far. I want to make sure it's clear, like when we get to a storyline that sounds so good, I want to think about how it would actually have to come out.
yeah,
So like in this sense, from all here, I think you're right. It would have to be a Disney Plus series, limited series. So like that's pretty important because if it's something that can't be solved on screen, like they have to put that in the comic. I'm probably gonna rank it pretty low.
yeah, because it's something that they can solve in a comic. I think that's not exactly appealing to us. Like if we don't need to go down the Darth Vader went back to Tatooine and killed Watto route to answer the question, it's not helpful for us.
He did though. He
Yeah,
did.
yeah. All right, so give me an era you want to talk on here. You want to pick on one of the sequel storylines yet, or
I default to Pete, considering getting close to his birthday.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so this is sort of a interesting one here. I'm going to figure out. I'm going to highlight it on our Google Docs so you guys can see it as I do it. But in terms of this is a very big hanging Chad that sort of sets up a prequel potentially. And I think it'll be an interesting one here. This is one that was been brought up a lot on the online community. Like, how the hell did Maz Kanata end up with the Skywalker lightsaber? I feel like there's some interesting adventures you could have with this,
Y- Yes. I
and more like Maz in general. It seems like she's like got ties
yeah.
solo. She knows a lot of people. Like I feel like she could be fun if we could get a little Maz Kanata action.
Yeah, but not as an entire show, I don't think, or as an entire project. I think Maz Kanata, as much as I like the character, is a good supporting character. And I just don't know. Like, I feel like that's a flashback, right? Like I don't know if you could do so much with it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, they've done more with less, right? Skeleton Crew is a main example of that, where low expectations. What are you going to do with these kids? Like it worked out well. I see Maz Kanata as a good supporting role. I don't necessarily think that a project based on the character is what is needed or wanted.
Nick, would you care to learn more about this mystery? The Maz Kanata ending up with the lightsaber being attuned with the Skywalker family and whatnot.
I'm not sure. I'm in the middle. So my quick answer is no. I like the idea that it's a mystery. But when you do it the way you did it in that movie, it makes that a hard to swallow pill, or because or is it Ray? No, it's Han says, "How did you get this?"
Yeah.
And then she answers a good question for another time. So now it's like, oh, now we're gonna find out. I feel like if they had left it alone, people would have accepted it was just a mystery. But if you leave it alone, people are gonna ask, why would no one ask her how she got it?
Yeah.
So there was really no winning there. It's almost, I don't know. So this was just their way to kind of just throw it under the rug. Like, hey, good question. I'll answer it another time. That other time will probably come in a comic or something.
Yeah, this is an example you feel like this is one that like there's be that you could write a comic book and saying here's how Maz found it.
Yeah, it's generally accepted that she just found it. She's just like, oh shit, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but even so,
we don't know for sure.
yeah, I do think there's definitely young Maz potential here, but I don't know for sure like if this is a storyline that's like will sell enough.
She's what, 800 years old?
Yeah,
It should be 770 in the movie. Like, it's the same person.
yeah.
Same thing. Like, it's not even a difference.
It's a newer version of the Yoda problem.
Yeah, Yoda, yeah, I mean, yeah, Yoda was 900, then when he was 870, he was doing flips. When he was 900, he couldn't walk.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think like the idea of Ma is intriguing, but I think Pete is right here that like there's not, I don't think gonna be if you went to Disney Plus and saw the Maz Kanata like Adventure Maz Kanata, I don't think anybody's clicking on it and saying I want to watch this.
You know what would be cool?
What's that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this stuff works, but maybe like a ride.
Like in
Like,
Disney.
yes, I guess a ride in Galaxy's Edge that showed that you like adventured with her and found it or something. I don't know. Or like you get it and then people are trying to take it and you got to escape and like you're going all sorts of like flips and drops and stuff, escaping with a lightsaber.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
That could be a Star Tours.
like an excursion.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
similar to like Star Tours.
Yeah, it's like one of
Or
the
one of the Star Tours episodes.
yeah, one of the pre-planned routes they built in for you.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. So we're definitely putting this behind Maul running Crimson Dawn.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so option three. So I gave you one of the ones that I feel like was gonna be lower on the board here. So we'll go to I got a couple from
Here, Mike. How about this? You have 8 on the screen here.
yeah.
Give me number 8 for Kobe Bryant.
Okay,
The last one.
so this one.
The bottom one on your screen.
Okay, so the last one on the screen. This is another sequel trilogy creation that was not properly addressed, probably through the situation with the showrunner, with the changing directors here. The Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren teased as this whole big thing. Kylo Ren is part of the Knights of Ren that we're teased about. Oh, these are mysterious dark side gang users. They're Kylo's soldiers. We kind of get them shoehorned in the background of Rise of Skywalker. They get off pretty quickly. So by Kylo himself. I feel like wasted potential here with the Knights of Ren. If you're trying to rehabilitate the Kylo character, you could do stuff with them. Either you guys have a thought on that?
Defaulting to Pete.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I dig it. I think Kylo Ren was a good part of the sequel trilogy. And I think that anything with him, if you do more of that, especially with Adam Driver, it's going to be good. Just you have to just be careful. You have to be delicate with the sequel trilogy and characters from the sequel trilogy, just because of the feedback that has been had about him. So I mean, I would be 100% down for that.
Nick, I would love to see a Knights of Ren situation here. Right? Even this could be another sort of like Disney Plus like limited series. We have Adam Driver in it, sort of like some of his adventures with the Knights of Ren, where they sort of are at the heat. Snoke recruits him to the dark side. He sort of like doesn't he? Isn't the lore basically he kills their leader, becomes their leader, and then they follow him and they do a bunch of heinous acts?
Yeah, which is why I'm ranking this. I mean, we'll all have to agree here, but I'm ranking this very low because we kind of have I mean, we don't have much on this, but it has been explained since the movies have come. There is a comic series based on this. So they did kind of explain how they came to be, or at least how Kylo came to be with joining them. We don't have more information on them as a group, which would be nice, but I don't think we need it. Like, we got the information on how he joined them. That's really the only important part. We don't need the explanation on who they are and what they do.
Yeah, I would just like to see it because I think we could get more Kylo Ren through his adventures with them.
Well, let's be realistic here for a second. Are you getting Adam Driver?
I think Adam Driver's also got very bothered by how his story ended, so I don't think you're getting him.
I don't think you're getting Adam Driver. And then what? It's an animated Vision show, which I don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like Visions, but if that's how you're gonna play it to me, I don't want it.
Yeah, so this also PLE pitched this one to you. What is a sort of like a in the Tales model? We get a couple of shorts about these guys.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I think it's appropriate. I mean, just like with Nick saying, you're probably not getting Driver back, so why not?
Yeah, sort of the Tales of the Knights of Ren.
See, now you're thinking about how to do Tales of concepts. Now
Yes,
you're thinking.
yeah. I think that's a good one. I think you want to play it below Maz.
I would put it above
I
Maz
would put it in the middle.
Crimson, yeah.
All right, so we're good. But we're right now. So we have it. Maul Crimson Dawn is one. The Knights of Ren are two, and
You're gonna have to move it up there manually for the numbering to work.
oh, I'm just putting little things here now.
Mhm.
So we have the list on at the end of the podcast. But Pete, of our highlighted our list here, I'll let you pick a blank. You want it unravel.
Numbered 1 to 7, Pete. Got a favorite player or a certain number?
Let's go number 2 for Jeter.
Derek Jeter. You're good thinking.
All right, number two for Derek Jeter here. This is a controversial one based on the storyline choice Nick hated during Obi-Wan Kenobi. Reva learning Luke Skywalker's identity and abandoning the Inquisitors. So the character of Reva, essentially. That's just what we're talking about here. This storyline that was abandoned after Kenobi. And I'm assuming it's due to reception to the show that we have not touched this character in the years since. And we have stayed away from this timeline in general here. So would you want more Reva, Nick or Pete?
No. This is automatically for me on the bottom of the list, at least so far. I'm sure there's more, but like that, I'm sure there might be another one that I'm not going to like as much. But to me, this is definitely going to be last. And oh, excuse me, my reasoning why I think it was a huge mistake having her learn that, and showing it more is just making it more of a bad decision. It's better to just swoop it under the rug and just pretend it never happened.
Pete, any thoughts on this character if you want to see this character in any form?
Not really. I just think that it was tied up. I don't think we need to keep going further.
Yeah, I think the idea of the Inquisitor abandoning the cause is interesting. Although we did get this to a degree in Tales of the Empire with Barriss, but I do think the Nick has a great point that her having this knowledge is a problem. And I think this is also something that, like, no offense, the actress did what she could with the material provided to her. I feel like this is prime, as Nick put it. This is Prime. Somebody kills her in a comic book, so we don't have to. They can close that loophole.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to the bottom as of right now.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so Nick, your turn. 1 to 6
Let's see. I'm gonna go with number one for Derek Rose.
for D Rose here. This is a post-credit scene from the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
Cobb
this is this
Vanth
is this is why you wrote 3 years.
yeah, Cobb Vanth becoming a cyborg. He gets left in the back of the tank. That's the post-credit scene of Book of Boba Fett. It is not touched in Mandalorian. As far as we know, it is not being addressed in the Mandalorian and Grogu. There is no season 2 of Boba Fett, so Cobb Vanth is chilling in a back tank for 3 years. Any thoughts on this?
I want to see what happens, and I think we're going to. I think I think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see it in one of these upcoming movies or shows or something. We have a lot more Mando stuff coming. Maybe we have to wait until this Mando Avengers movie to see it, but I think we're gonna see it.
Yeah,
And I'm excited to see it. The only thing is, it's not that impactful because he's just gonna be like the Wasp. Like that's his importance to the group as like Wasp's importance was to the Avengers. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, I want to see it because I think it's cool. I like the character. I want to see what they turn him into. A little cyberpunk Power Ranger. That'd be really cool. But he's just going to be a background character.
Yeah, Pete, I feel like if you bring him back, I feel like I don't think they will want to do the design sort of like the Cyberpunk Power Rangers we all hated in this show. Like, I feel like maybe Gunter from Skeleton Crew is the model you want him to for him, where you sort of give him some cool like face tech. You still not enough to completely obscure the fact that it's Timothy Oliphant, but like I think you want to have this opportunity. Like this character was cool. He had very high approval rating in his Mando appearances and the Boba Fett appearance. So I think for sure this is something that I want to see him continue his storyline in some way.
I agree. I mean, I think this was going to be a Book of Boba Fett 2 situation, and the reception wasn't great, so it didn't happen. So it kind of just died with the show. But I hope we get a little bit more of that because I think also we'll get a little bit more Cad Bane because I'm not convinced that Cad Bane is actually officially dead. So, I'm not opposed to trying to work him into some sort of project or continue that trend. I mean, I'll go as far and as bold to say as maybe he gets his own show or something along the lines like a spinoff, something low expectation like Skeleton Crew, and that would be to me a pretty good show.
Yeah, I think maybe he could be a Tails candidate as well. That's what you could talk about here. I think also like it'd not shock me if we go to Tatooine and Ahsoka that he's magically there and just like walking around.
Possibly.
Yeah. All right. So where we gonna put this on the list right now? What is it higher than Riva?
Yeah.
Is it higher than Maz Kanata?
Yeah. And then I'm not really
Yes.
sure. I'm not really sure about the next thing.
Yeah, Knights of Ren is the question mark. Do we want to see the Knights of Ren more? Or we want to see Cobb Vanth more?
Well, I'm going to say Cobb Vanth, and this is why.
Yes.
We're going to see Knights of Ren in a Vision style cartoon or comic. We're going to see Cobb Vanth in a live action show or movie. So I'm going with Cobb Vanth for that reason.
You cool with that?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So we are halfway through the lists so far. So we have Maul running Crimson Dawn so far, number one, aka Solo 2 happening. Cobb Vanth being turned into a cyborg. How Maz Kanata got the Skywalker lightsaber. Reva learning Luke Skywalker's identity, abandoning the Inquisitors. Actually, I forgot. So Knights of Ren is 3, Maz Kanata is 4, and Reva is 5. So we have 5 options left here. P, I'll give you the pick now, 1 to 5.
Let's go number 3.
Number 3 on the board. This is another sequel trilogy idea. We've seen work being done towards this in shows, but not really addressed here. The origins of Snoke. A very fun character in Force Awakens, killed off by Ryan Johnson in Last Jedi. We see the Snoke clones in Rise of Skywalker. We basically are hinted that he is a failed cloning attempt, but like I'd be interested in the how Snoke got to be so powerful situation, whereas like he breaks off, does his own thing away from the Sith Palpatine plan.
I mean, I would enjoy to see it. I don't know how well it would work. I don't know where you would do it. If it's like in a Visions-esque or a Tales or a something along those lines. But I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about Snoke.
Yeah, Nick, I think if you're kind of looking at the rise of the First Order angle, I think this is a perfect way to do that because he sort of is the figurehead of that organization and like he's recruited a lot of these people. He reunites a lot of the Empire remnants behind him in this. So I think as you can see how this guy who comes out of nowhere becomes this influential figure, sort of gets all these factions together.
I agree. It's really interesting. I mean, we know how he exists, sure, but like, how does he get so much power that he's able to run the entire First Order and so powerful that like people in the New Republic, in the Resistance, Luke, Leia, they know who he is.
Yeah. And they're terrified of him.
Yeah, he makes himself a big deal. So I'm pretty interested in this one. This is going to be definitely in the top half of the list for me.
Yeah, because I think the thing that's interesting to me is not only is this guy come out of nowhere, gets all this power, like, and we've seen in Mando how like these warlords are sort of fighting each other to try and get control of the Empire scraps. He unites all of them, and he gets so well known that like Luke and Leia are like terrified what this guy can do, and we saw what they dealt with the Empire. So like he's got some staying power.
Yeah, I think it could work.
All right, so let's move it on the list here. He's higher than Reva. I think the question right now is I think I
Yeah.
would put him all the way to is he the debate I think is we want Snoke Origins over Cobb Vanth and he turned to a cyborg.
I do.
I'll
I
agree.
I think I would agree with that. I think this is more interesting than Cobb Vanth
I think it's more interesting, and I also think there's potential that we would get this
in a movie.
in a movie or a Disney Plus live action show, not that's as compared to the bottom half of this list, which either I don't think we get it at all, or if we did get it, it would come in like a comic. This I think would be in a good medium.
Yes, so I think that one's here. Do we want this over Maul running Crimson Dawn or AKA Solo 2?
I don't think you're gonna beat that.
No.
All right, so right now it's going number 2 on the list, the Snoke origin story. So like, not necessarily where he came from, but sort of like his rise to prominence of the First Order. All right, we got 4 options left here. There's still a prequel option out there you guys haven't found yet. We have a couple, there's another sequel storyline in there. There's a couple other ones here. So, uh, Nick, your turn.
Got one, two, three, and four here.
Yep.
Do four for Brett Favre.
Yeah, our friend from the Aaron Rodgers docus here at Netflix. So,
Yep, that's how I know him.
yeah, number 4. This is another storyline from Kenobi that we're gonna bring back here. The Hidden Path.
Okay, so I read this one.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what this is. Is this where Ice Cube's son was hanging out?
No, this was the whole thing about how they were smuggling Jedi to hide them from the Empire and the Inquisitors during Order 66. And we had the one episode where Obi-Wan goes through the hidden path and he sees the writing on the wall. He's like, oh, Quinlan was here. Like worrying about sort of their efforts here. Maybe Luke Cal Kestis into this somehow. I think it has potential. I just don't know what form it would take.
Now, are we talking about the hiding of Jedi and having like a separate story about it, or literally just about the path?
Like the hiding of Jedi. That's sort of like the
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that it is not high on my list, but I'd be interested. I mean, I've said it all the time. Any Star Wars content that we can get more information is something I like, but um, it would have to have a good story behind it. Like I think the overarching theme needs to be different, and just part of it is that hidden path. Part of it is like this is why we're hiding and stuff. Because I think it's been done a lot already. So you would need something much bigger with that just kind of sprinkled in it.
yeah, Nick, would this help at all? We loop Cal Kestis in after the conclusion of his video games.
It would help. I'm not interested in the storyline though.
This feels comic booky to you?
Yeah, maybe this is me waking up to the fact I really didn't like Kenobi, but I feel like that whole show, I loved the scenes, although they were unnecessary. I loved the scenes with the Obi-Wan and Vader. Besides that, I could do without the whole show.
Yeah, so you just wanted Obi-Wan and you like the fights. That's really it.
I liked the fights, although again, I don't think they were necessary. They probably shouldn't have done them, but I still thought they were fun.
All right, so we'll start at the bottom here. Do we want this over Riva again?
I do.
I'll say yes.
Do we want over Maz Kanata getting the Skywalker lightsaber?
Yep.
I don't.
Wow.
I'm gonna push it forward. I'm gonna say we do, but I think it stops at Knights of Ren.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think it goes farther up.
All right, so the Hidden Path is number 5 on the list currently.
I got it here on the sheet.
All right, so we still have 3 entries left to discuss. 3 more abandoned storylines here. Pete, you want the long one, the short one, or the medium one?
It was a good way to do it.
Give me the short one.
The short one is our prequel storyline that I put on the list. And good point, because a major character can be completely ignored after 2005 in terms of the Star Wars timeline. Jar Jar Binks.
Top of the list. Put it top, all the way up.
So what do you mean by abandoned? Like what happened to him after the prequels? You mean?
Yeah, after the prequels, he is completely ignored. He is not referenced in anything. He does not show up in anything. Nobody says his
He's
name.
referenced though.
He's barely referenced in one book because he says that he's a joke.
Yeah.
I think there's storytelling potential with him. I think the character is too controversial, which is why they won't do it. But I think like there is a lot to mine in this guy being manipulated by Palpatine to basically help him turn the Republic into an empire and then having to live with that fallout. I just don't think the character, I don't know what the vehicle is to tell that.
Did you know that Jar Jar Binks was in The Rise of Skywalker?
According to who?
He made a brief appearance in the celebration on Naboo after Palpatine's defeat.
Are you sure you're not talking about like Return of the Jedi remix?
I don't think so. But he's also there too. I remember we saw Free, right?
I think I'm not 100% sure, but Pete is the pro Jar Jar advocate. What would you want to do with him?
Uh, I wouldn't say pro Jar Jar advocate. I would just say it'd be kind of funny. Make a comedy or something lighthearted, something that doesn't matter, like leading up to the prequels, maybe. And I think it'd just be like a fun kind of show to watch. I don't think it's going to add much value to the franchise, to be honest with you. I think it'd be more just entertainment at that point.
Like Pete, would you want to show up in the Mandalorian movie somewhere? It's like
No, I feel if he does show up, it's going to be comic relief. It's not going to be for anything else. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Jar Jar Binks, his character, good character. I love the character. Um, he is comic relief. You know, he helps. He's a major part of the rebellion at that point, in the Republic. For the first parts, the prequels. But it's more just for a good laugh, in my opinion.
Yeah, Nick, I would like to see him though. 'Cause I mean, like, especially now we got Ahmed Best back in the franchise as Keller and Beck. So like, I think he would be down to bring Jar Jar like back to the screen. Like if there was an idea to bring him in that was fun.
Um, I don't really disagree. Sorry, my lights are freaking out, so you can probably see my face changing colors. But um, I think you put this in the right medium, it could be fun. You put this in a little kids cartoon or or even like a new. I'm sure we're going to find out about a new animated show at Celebration, something like that. He's in there. Wouldn't mind it at all. I actually think it would be somewhat near the middle of this list.
Yeah, I like we've always joked about like Hondo telling the story of Star Wars. What about
Yeah,
Jar Jar telling the story of Star Wars?
that would be crazy, wouldn't it?
That would be funny.
It'd be absurd, actually.
Okay, so let's start on the list with Jar Jar. Is he going above Reva?
I say yes.
I think so.
Is he going above Maz getting the lightsaber?
No.
So I think he goes above the hidden path, but I think he goes below Maz. But I don't agree with the hidden path thing above Maz. So I'm just gonna have to let you guys handle this one because the list is not how I want to see it anyway, so I can't really make a fair assessment here.
Yeah, I feel like I would put him above Maz getting the lightsaber. I think that's a comic book, Maz getting the lightsaber at this point. The Hidden Path, I think there's more storytelling. I feel like Jar Jar just shows up in a scene. Like, oh, look, it's Jar Jar.
It's
Yeah.
definitely below Hidden Path for
Yeah,
me. Like
I,
definitely.
I think he goes above Maz below Hidden Path.
The Maz thing, all right, I'll say yes. I'll agree to it.
I feel like Maz is this was a major character in the prequels who just gets completely abandoned.
And that's why I think I agree with it more so is because of that.
All right, two left. Nick, you want the shorter one or the longer one?
Short.
All right, the short one. This is a animated one that we got hints of. We've heard the stuff off the air. We haven't seen it happen yet. How Cad Bane and Boba Fett became rivals, and there's a whole abandoned arc in Clone Wars that sort of like leads to the point. Like, I think the legend goes that Cad Bane is the reason why Boba has the dent in his helmet because he shot at him, and the helmet saved Boba Fett's life. Apparently, they become big rivals over the course of like the 19 years between the prequels and the time you show them both, but you see they no longer like are on good terms. So I think the Cad Boba rivalry, I think, is an interesting. Definitely, it could be like an animated sort of thing, in my opinion.
Tails, maybe.
We get Tails.
Tails of the Bounty Hunter.
I could see that happening.
Just do all of that, get those because I don't see it being more than like 30 minutes of content for that. So I can only see it being in that kind of medium.
Nick, I think this one. I think if you're trying to rehab Boba's image, I think this would be a good way to do it.
I don't know, because he'd be a kid. I'm not interested.
You're out on this.
I'm out. I have this very low on the list.
You have it below Riva, Nick.
No.
You have it below Maz.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I would put it above Maz. Actually, I'd even put it over Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, I could be convinced of that.
I think there's
Is
potential here because I think you could have sort of like a long spanning rivalry because like they were working together in Clone Wars, then like you can sort of see them like getting each other's way, doing jobs, competing for like like credits on the Empire. I could see like
I
potential.
think I think Cad Bane has a lot more traction, especially from making his live action debut in Boba. So I would put it above Jar Jar, but below the
Well,
Hidden Path.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think this could be. I think this is classic Tales material. The Tales of the
Yeah,
Bounty.
I don't. Yeah, if you do like a Cad Bane Tales series, I guess, or like a something along those lines, I think it could work. I'm not really against it. I just don't. I don't like Boba Fett as a. I don't like Boba Fett for most of his life.
Yeah,
I don't like young Boba. I don't like old Boba. I only like Boba for like 3 years.
like Bowen in his prime.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, so the
And
last.
in Mando season 2, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And the last one, it's a doozy, and it's one that we could theoretically see come back maybe as soon as a movie that just hired a writer here. Finn's force sensitivity slash what he wanted to tell Ray in episode 9. So this one, like we were hinted about the force sensitivity thing for a while. It was basically I believe John Boyega said that like the thing he was gonna tell Ray is that Finn was force sensitive and they cut it from the movie. And I know that he feels wronged by Disney. I feel like there's something that's very easy to pick up and explore this and have him be one of Ray's new students in this new movie. I think I'm all in on this.
I'm not.
I think this whole what he had to tell Ray thing is just that he was force sensitive, though, right?
That's the whole point. It's like because they
Yeah,
were
so I think it just comes down. So okay, so like his force sensitivity.
him becoming a Jedi potentially.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I like the actor. I also think that maybe I'm wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong. I think you know more about the world of movies and TV shows than I do. I feel like he didn't really go anywhere from his role.
No, I think of the three leads from the sequel trilogy, he's gotten the least traction out of it.
Yeah, like they called him up and said, "You want to play Finn again? We'll try to do right by you." I think he would just say yes. Like,
I
well,
think,
the other would be like, "You better give me a lot of money." He'd be like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it."
yeah, it's harder to get Oscar Isaac or Adam Driver now, whereas I think you could get John Boyega back.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oscar Isaac's too busy being Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Wait, are they doing more Moon Knights?
who knows? And he was in Dune, like he's in a lot of things.
Yeah, but I think Finn would or John Boyega would come running back and probably fall somewhere in the middle of the list for me. But I'm definitely in. I would like to see this.
Pete, I know why are you out on getting more Finn?
I'm I'm not out on getting more of the character. I'm out on the whole force sensitive, learn how to become a Jedi and do it. We've done it 80 million times. I'm tired of it. I'm done. Right? It has nothing to do with the character. I agree with Nick. I think it's a great character. I think the actor did a phenomenal job. I think he did the best he could with what he could. And at the end of the day, I'm just tired of seeing I'm force sensitive. I'm going to train. I'm going to become a Jedi. I want to see something different. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I feel like that's the way you're getting him back. I don't think there's any other way he's coming back in the story.
No, I agree, and that's why I say I don't want it back. Not because of the character, but that's literally the only way he can come back, and I just don't want that concept anymore, that theme.
All right. So I feel like Nick and I are
I
gonna
think I think Pete's making a really good point. I do agree. Like
it's
it's like it seems like the same thing happened at the end of the original trilogy with Leia. It's the exact same thing, no?
it's a crush they like to go to.
And it's just I don't know.
It's a little cliche at this point.
It's beat to a it's it's milked dry. I don't know if we need another one of these same storylines.
Yeah.
Do I want the closure to this storyline specifically? Yeah, but do we need another one? I don't know.
Pete, does what happened with Sabine and Ahsoka prejudice you against this? Because there was a lot of controversy talking about Sabine learning how to become a Jedi.
No, because we started that in Rebels, and I think it worked in Rebels, and we just continued it in the Ahsoka show. I think the introduction of people who need to learn the Force needs to stop. I think if we're going to introduce Force sensitive people, introduce them as full Jedi immediately. We don't need the training anymore.
Yeah.
Let's introduce them. They're a character in a world that we know how they get trained. It's been done millions of times. Introduce them, move forward with the storyline we can get behind instead of we're going to train this person for 3 movies. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Counterpoint to you then. In the Rey movie, Finn's a full-fledged Jedi. Does that sell you better?
If it started off like that, 100%.
Yeah. So
If
like,
he was a full-fledged Jedi, pretending to be a stormtrooper or first order trooper and comes out, I'm a Jedi, I'll help you with Obi-Wan, I think that movie goes a lot better. And I think that character can at least continue.
I'm saying is like, if he showed up in the Rey movie as a full-fledged Jedi, that he's in training.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you meant the prequels. I'm sorry. No, I think that just makes it worse because it's like, well, how do you get trained?
Yeah.
I think we just need to stop with this. I wasn't a Jedi and now I am a Jedi. That needs to stop.
I just think that Sabine's another example. I didn't mind the Sabine one. I didn't mind the Leia one. It's just we've done this before. We don't need it again. I do want to see more Finn, and I don't know how else we would see Finn. Like if you see Finn again, it has to come up, right?
I would assume, I think there's a chance, like, if Rey is doing this whole Jedi school, maybe she's trained Finn off screen. Finn's one of the instructors of this Jedi school, and maybe they disagree on something about like a teaching method or
The
something.
last time we saw him, he was just realizing he was force sensitive, or at least showing others. It's been how many years? We don't know exactly what this movie's going to be. Let's just assume it's 5 years, 10 years later.
Rumor is 15.
Rumor's 15. So we let's say this movie's 15 years later. At that point, he has to have trained
Yeah.
at least a little. So if you're going to see him, it's going to be about his force sensitivity. So I'm very much in the middle on this. As much as I'd like to see it, Pete makes a great point that this has been beaten dry.
All right. So let's start here. Nick, so Pete's low on this. We'll go. I think you and I are going to decide where this ends up going, Nick, here. Do you want it above Cad Bane and Boba Fett becoming rivals?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Do we want this above the Hidden Path? the Hiding Jedi storyline.
You know, you've kind of convinced me on this hidden path when we talk about it, where I'm going to say no, but I also feel like it belongs on top of Knights of Ren.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
I don't know. I'm gonna say this would go at number six if I had to start say right now.
all right, so I'll throw this out here as an option for us in terms of just shuffling the list around a bit here. Let's say, well, how we do we feel that we'd rather have this Nick over Knights of Ren, the Finn thing.
I think you can put this at number six. I think this is fine.
All right, so I'll let you transfer it over here, and we'll reset the list now. The abandoned storylines, they already want to see them in, and this is we no idea of how this is happening yet, but this is the list. Number 10, Reva continuing her journey after learning Luke Skywalker's identity and abandoning the Inquisitors. Number 9, how Maz Kanata gets the Luke Skywalker the Skywalker lightsaber. Number 8, Jar Jar Binks. Number 7, how Cad Bane and Boba Fett became rivals. Number 6, the Finn Force sensitivity storyline. Number 5, the Hidden Path. Number 4, the Knights of Ren. Number 3, Cobb Vanth turned into a cyborg. Number 2, the Rise of Snoke. And number 1, Maul running Crimson Dawn, aka Solo 2. So, Pete, how do you about this list?
I'm good with it except for the Finn. I would have Finn under Maz Kanata, but I mean I'll respect the judgments of the Sky Guys here.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a solid order on the list here. I think the top two are probably the highest potential storylines that they left unresolved.
They are, and I think three is up there with just for the audience sake. Three is the Cobb Vanth one, where I think that one fits really well because I think we're gonna get it. So I think that's what leads that to being high on that list is because we have a lot more Mandoverse stuff coming. So I believe like the only one on this list that I actually believe is gonna happen is three and six.
Yeah, I think 3 and 6 definitely happening here. I think there's a chance. I think we'll get comic books a couple of these. I think we get 10. I think is definitely going to be tied up in the comic books enough to deal with the character again. I feel like 9 could as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of these could show up in a comic book. So when I say that I said these are the only ones we're gonna get, I don't mean it that way.
The
I
only
mean,
thing in live action are on screen.
yeah, those are the ones I think we're gonna get in live action, which I'll be honest, I prefer it. I mean, I don't read comic books, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, there's a few animated ones here too. Too, I think. I think like there's a couple of these like I could see continuing in the animated form because we know they have more animated products in the works.
Right. We'll find out at Celebration.
We'll find out celebration here, but next week we teased the rest a little bit here. We're gonna do a Tales of the Blank draft next
I
week.
have a really good idea.
Okay.
Draft characters, we play it for real. It's based on who we think is gonna actually get the episode, not who we want. We
Who
keep
they'll pick.
score, we make a prize.
So you think who they pick to
Who
be?
they pick, we draft, we keep score, we remember it, we save the list. If they eventually do another Tales of series, which I think they will,
I feel like it's
we
easy enough for them to do it.
we give points to the correct answers, and the winner gets one of those Funkos we always do.
I think it's got to be a longer range prize though. I feel like it's got to be like if they because there's a chance they could get like multiple of these series. So
That's true too. So we will have to discuss that prize during the episode.
yeah. So Pete, next week Tales draft. Here we're gonna draft some characters who could be spotlighted future Tales series slash seasons. So how do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a good conversation. I'm excited to see what you guys think. I have some ideas going
Yeah.
into it.
An audience, if you have any ideas you want to send us on who you think could be in a Tales season, feel free to shout out to us, skyguyspod@gmail.com. You want to email your suggestions.
Correct. You can email us at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep. That's it for us this week. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Pete, people want to subscribe to us one more time, actually. Sorry. People want to follow you on social media. How can they do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast, pretty much everywhere.
That's the social media from Nick. Pete, people want to follow you. How can they do that?
At Consi29 on Twitter, APTower308 created the background I'm using here on Reddit.
And you also follow me on social media at mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS 331. This is where we're on the Just End the Suffering podcast. We're recapping Super Bowl 59. We got the big game recap. There was some halftime commercial coverage as well. So tradition here. So Nick, I know we're recording before the game, but can you believe that crazy call that went in favor of the Chiefs?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And they've snuck out a victory. And all those people who said there were conspiracies with the refs, what blows my mind, they had an opportunity to bet on the Chiefs, and they didn't. And then they still complained. Makes no sense to me.
I did bet the Chiefs.
Well, then you had a good night.
Yes, I did. So we'll be back next week for our Tails draft. But until then, may the force be with you.